third straight win for Green Bay. They improved to 7-8. And for the Dolphins, a fourth straight loss. The last three were on the road. Now they come home and they've lost to the Packers. Miami falls to 8-7. The Packers win it 26-20. And we welcome an 8-year NFL vet, Douzable, and former Raging Cajun himself, Emory Hunt, to break down what just went on in Miami. Guys, what a tale of two halves. Like, everything seemed to happen in the first half, and not a whole lot happened on either side in the second. Lige, what do you take out of this?
A couple things, right? Turnovers, right? If you turn the football over, you can't win in the NFL. And we saw Tua Tagovailoa have 3 interceptions, I believe, in 3 consecutive drives. You just showed the play right there. Rasul Douglas does a really good job in cover 2. He's the flat defender, but he knows the situation, right? They have to push the ball down the field. So after that in-breaking right goes inside, he drops back, right? And Tua Tagovailoa doesn't even see him, but he was actually late with that ball to Mike Gesicki. So that was either going to get picked off or been behind Mike Gesicki anyway. You see it right there, how he sloughs off right there at the last second and picks the ball off, gets in that throwing lane to Mike Gesicki. So turning it over, 3 picks. And then the penalties, right? Miami got killed by crucial penalties. We saw a Jalen Phillips, personal foul hit on Aaron Rodgers. Was it ticky-tack? Yes, but you don't want to put the game in the ref's hands. And then also John Jenkins jumping off sides, encroachment, right, on 2nd and 2, giving the Green Bay Packers another first down. The thing about this Green Bay team, they're scrappy, right? They're usually a better running, team running the football, but Aaron Jones is kind of banged up. I think A.J. Dillon was a little banged up this game. But we saw vintage Aaron Rodgers that time. We saw him go downfield to Alan Lazard. We saw him, on that wheel route to Mercedes Lewis for a big explosive play. And then dinking and dunking to Christian Watson. I think they lost some explosive firepower when he went out with that injury, with that hip injury. But this Green Bay team is scrappy. On defense, they made just enough plays, and Aaron Rodgers was Aaron Rodgers that we're accustomed to seeing.
You know what's interesting, man? When you think about a lot of these analytically driven head coaches, they tend to get enamored with the play calls and what happens on the whiteboard. I felt like the Dolphins was running the heck out of the football, and they got away from it. And now you saw Tua throwing the interceptions. Okay, maybe one. Let's get back to the run game. Nope, let's do it again. Throw another one and throw another one. They got away from the run game. The run game was going to pop, especially when you have 2 explosive backs in Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert. Keep that going. Keep Green Bay off the field. Force them to stop the run. I felt like they kind of gave them the game, and from a sense that, hey, you turned the ball over 3 times, but you touched on the penalties. Those were backbreakers for this Dolphins offense, and once you start having issues, it tends to snowball downhill, and you see the end result. The Packers did what they were supposed to do with the gifts they were given from the Dolphins here in this ball game.
Both these teams now still alive in the playoff hunt. Packers needed that desperately. They could have still made it had they lost this game, but it was going to be ridiculous hard. Now the Packers are in the thick of things. The Dolphins are trending in the opposite direction. Which team, Emory, do you have more confidence in the last few games of this regular season?
Oh, man, by default, I will still say the Dolphins because of their offense. They still have the potential to score. The problem is their defense can give up as many points as their offense scores. But when you look at the Packers, it's hard to go against what we've seen. But I feel like these plays that they've been given are more of an anomaly and not a sign of things to come. So I'm still riding with the Dolphins because they have the ability to put up 40-plus points in the ballgame, although they didn't do it here today.
Well, Emory, I'm going to have to respectfully disagree because if you look at the Dolphins, they're trending in the wrong direction. I do believe they still have to play the New England Patriots and the New York Jets in that finale, which I think will be a play and get in type playoff scenario. But if you look at the Green Bay Packers, right, 4-8, left for dead. Everybody thought this team was done. Everybody was saying Aaron Rodgers should sit down. Jordan Love should come into the game. But they've been able to rile off 3 straight victories. And I'm telling you right now, Emory, they're going to the playoffs. They have the last 2 games versus the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. Everything that the Green Bay Packers needed to happen has happened so far this season, right? We look at last week, the Lions get trounced by the Carolina Panthers. We see the Commanders go down to the 49ers. We also see the Giants lose in a close game to the Minnesota Vikings. So everything that the Green Bay Packers have needed to happen this season has. They're trending in the right direction. Again, I talked about it earlier. This team has been based off of the run game. That's been their best offense so far. But these last few weeks, we've starting to see that vintage Aaron Rodgers on that RPO. And then even on the deep passes, he's been able to connect, like I talked about with Alan Lazard. So I think the Green Bay Packers are going to get into the playoffs. And again, a month ago, nobody gave this team a chance.
Green Bay Packers improved to 15-0 all time in the month of December. under head coach Matt LaFleur. What makes Green Bay a hard out from this point forward, Lige?
To me, it's Aaron Rodgers, right? This guy is the back-to-back MVP, and it feels like he's starting to get that continuity with his receivers now. The big question, Russ and Emory, is the health of Christian Watson, because we've seen what this young kid has done the last few weeks. Him and Aaron Rodgers' rapport has been really good. We kind of joked about it last week when we were in studio, Russ. He kind of got after, Christian Watson at the end of that game versus the LA Rams when there was miscommunication. He was trying to throw a smoke route to him that would have been an easy walk-in touchdown, but Watson thought it was a run play and to continue to block. But other than that play, they have been in total sync. And then on defense, right, we saw last week that defensive line really get after the LA Rams. And this week they were opportunistic in that secondary and being able to get turnovers. So this defense is starting to put together some games as well, which is the defense we thought we were going to see all year long. The one caveat, and Emory talked about earlier, the run game. They struggle against stopping the run. Teams in late December and early January in the playoffs, they tend to run the football more. So that's something that they're going to have to correct if they intend on getting into the playoffs.
Lige, I'll back you up right here with something you touched on. You touched on the receiving the weapons. That's great because you got young guys getting better toward the back end of the season. But I feel like people also don't give the Packers enough credit because I feel like they could play any type of game they want to on Sunday. They could line up and run down your throat. Their two-headed monster is arguably one of the best in the league with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. And they can also play that quick up-tempo game because of Aaron Rodgers and his smarts and what he's able to do in distributing the football. I'm glad they touched on him being a point guard passer because that's what he has been all throughout his career. But now you have the element of Dobbs going deep, Watson going deep when he's healthy, Lazard being that factor over the middle of the field, but can also get deep. So I feel like they can play any type of game offensively, and when you're able to do that in the NFL, you have your chance each and every Sunday.
Emory Hunt and Lige Douzable, thank you so much as we look back on this Green Bay Packers win over the Miami Dolphins, and the home team from Miami was favored to win in this one, and it's yet another win for a Matt LaFleur coach team as an underdog, and he has the best winning percentage with a minimum of 15 games since the 1970 merger of any head coach as an underdog.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.